calm no matter what happens. Have you ever felt like your life was spiraling out of control, like the world was spinning faster than you could breathe? Your heart races. Your mind won't stop. Your thoughts feel louder than the noise outside. And in that moment, you're 1 second away from breaking. Sound familiar? Because if it does, you're not alone. We live in a world that never hits pause. Our phones buzz. Deadlines pile up. People need us. Plans fall apart. Expectations crush us. And sometimes, even the smallest thing, a traffic jam, a harsh word, a missed call, can feel like the final straw. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by something that, in hindsight, wasn't even that big of a deal? I have. And here's the truth I wish someone had told me years ago. Peace isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Moment by moment. Breath by breath. We're always waiting for life to calm down so we can finally relax. We say things like, once this project is done, once the kids are older, once I'm out of this mess, then I'll rest, then I'll breathe, then I'll feel better. But what if life doesn't slow down? What if the chaos doesn't stop? Do we stay stuck in survival mode forever? Or is it possible to find calm in the middle of the storm? That's exactly what today's video is about. What I'm going to share with you isn't a technique to avoid stress or some magic hack to eliminate pressure. This is about something deeper. It's about learning how to stand still internally. Everything around you moves. It's about learning to feel centered, grounded, present even when nothing is going your way. Let me be honest. What I'm going to share with you is simple. But that doesn't mean it's easy. Because the truth is, inner peace is not a gift. It's a practice. It's a discipline. And it starts with a shift in how you see yourself, how you respond to pressure, and how you hold space for yourself when everything feels like too much. Now, I know you've heard all the generic advice. Just relax. Take it easy. Don't stress so much. But I'm not here to give you surface-level fluff. I'm here to give you something real, something that actually works. Because I've been there. I've been the person who looked calm on the outside, but inside I was drowning. I know what it's like to smile through exhaustion, to show up for everyone else while secretly feeling like you're falling apart, to lie awake at 2 a.m., replaying conversations you wish you handled differently, to be so used to stress that peace feels unfamiliar, to confuse productivity with self-worth, to confuse quiet with failure. But somewhere along the way, something changed. And no, it wasn't that life suddenly got easier. It's that I got quieter inside. I discovered that true calm doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens. It means you learn to remain even when everything else is falling apart. You stop giving chaos the power to steal your presence. You stop letting the outside world determine your inner world. You stop being reactive and start being reflective. And in that shift, you become free. So let me ask you again. What if calm wasn't the reward at the end of the journey, but the strength that gets you through it? What if, instead of waiting for peace, you could create it? What if there was a way to face life's hardest moments not by resisting them, not by avoiding them, but by rising above them with grounded presence? If any of this speaks to you, if there's even a small part of you that's tired of surviving and ready to start living, then stay with me. Because in this video, I'm going to share a mindset shift that changed everything for me. Not a miracle, not a fix-all, but a simple, powerful truth that, when practiced daily, helped me stay centered no matter what happened outside of me. It helped me respond instead of react. It helped me breathe before breaking. It helped me build calm not someday, but right now, where I stand. You ready? Let's begin. 1. Control is an illusion. Let's get honest for a second. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, if only I could control this situation, I'd feel okay. If only they would act differently, I'd be at peace. If I could just predict what's coming next, I'd finally relax. We've all been there, trying to manage every moving piece, trying to plan for every outcome, trying to get life to play by our rules. But here's the reality check. That desire to control everything around you is the very thing stealing your peace. I know that sounds hard to swallow, because we're taught, especially in modern culture, that control equals strength. That being in charge of every detail is how you win. But I want to challenge that idea today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever done everything right, to showed up on time, You worked hard, you planned every detail, and life still slapped you in the face? Maybe someone misunderstood your intentions. Maybe traffic ruined your whole day. Maybe an unexpected email flipped your plans upside down. And you thought, why is this happening? I did everything I could. That right there is the illusion of control. We think we're in charge of outcomes, but we're not. We don't control other people's moods. We don't control the weather. We don't control the economy, or how others drive, or whether plans fall through. We don't even control when the next interruption hits our inbox or our lives. So here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. The only thing you can truly control is your response. And once you deeply accept that, it sinks from your head into your heart to unlock a kind of freedom most people never get to experience. Because when your peace is tied to things you can't control, you're a prisoner to life's chaos. But when your peace is rooted in how you respond, you become untouchable. Let me say that again. When your peace depends on your reaction to your situation, you take your power back. Let me give you a real example. A while ago, I was stuck in traffic on the way to an important meeting. I had left early, planned everything, even rehearsed my key points in the car. But then boom! Stand still. No movement. Car horns. Clock ticking. And my old self? I would have gone into panic. Cursed the situation. Let my heart race. Replayed worst-case scenarios in my head. But instead, I asked myself one simple question. Is this something I can control? No. So then I asked, what can I control right now? Answer, my breath, my energy, my presence. So I turned off the radio, took a deep breath, and told myself this moment isn't working against me. It's working for me. Maybe I needed that extra time to slow down. Maybe this moment was reminding me the world isn't on my schedule, and that's okay. By the time I got to the meeting, I was calmer than I'd ever been. And guess what? It went better than expected. Why? Because I showed up from a place of grounded energy, not frantic reaction. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you let go of needing to control everything and focused instead on mastering your response? What would shift if your first instinct wasn't to resist, but to breathe? This doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or giving up your goals. It means choosing your energy even when you can't choose the circumstances. It means realizing you can't always calm the storm, but you can calm yourself. And that changes everything. Because once you stop wasting your emotional energy on what's outside your control, you reclaim it for what is in your hands. Your focus, your words, your reactions, your habits, your mindset. And over time, that inner mastery compounds. You stop reacting to life like a ping pong ball. You start leading yourself with intention. I'll leave you with this thought. Peace doesn't come from control. Peace comes from clarity about what's yours to hold and what's not. And the moment you realize that, you'll stop trying to manage everything and start managing you. That's not weakness. That's not giving up. That's wisdom. That's power. So next time chaos knocks on your door, don't try to fight it. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just ask yourself, what can I actually control right now? What kind of person do I want to be in this moment? How can I respond in a way that aligns with who I'm becoming? Because the truth is, peace isn't a destination. It's a decision. And it's yours to make over and over again. So breathe, let go, and remember, you don't have to control everything to feel safe. You just have to trust yourself to handle whatever comes. That's the real power. That's real peace. 2. One breath that could change everything. Let me tell you a secret. It's not a productivity hack. It's not a time management strategy. It's not some ancient ritual you need to learn from a guru in the Himalayas. It's just one breath. One single breath. And yet this one simple act has saved me from saying things I'd regret, from making impulsive decisions, and believe it or note it, may have even saved a few relationships. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly noticed your breath? Not just breath to survive, but really tuned into it. Felt the inhale, notice the pause, and gently release the exhale. Most of us go through the day holding our breath without even realizing it. We rush, we react, we tense up, and in the middle of it all, we forget that peace is only one breath away. That's why I call this the one breath rule. And I'll be honesty, wish I had known this sooner. Because I used to think staying calm required a whole routine, a yoga mat, a meditation playlist, a 30-minute break. And sure, those are powerful tools. But sometimes, all you have is 5 seconds. Sometimes you don't have a quiet room. You have a loud meeting, a stressful phone call, a kid crying, a partner yelling. And in that moment, what you do in the next few seconds determines everything. Enter the one breath rule. Here's how it works. Before you react, before you speak out of anger, fear, or frustration, pause. Inhale deeply. Hold it for a moment. And then exhale slowly with full awareness. That's it. That tiny pause, breath between the trigger and your response, that's where your power lives. You don't need to master your emotions. You just need to give them space. And breath is the space. Let me give you a real example. I remember once, I got a text that instantly triggered me. It was short, cold, and honestly it felt like an attack. My first instinct: start typing back a fiery message. Prove my point. Defend myself. Put them in their place. But I stopped. I remembered the rule. So I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, held it, then exhaled slowly. And something shifted. Not in the situation but in me. That breath gave me just enough space to realize, this isn't about them. This is about me staying grounded in who I want to be. And you know what? I didn't send the message I was about to write. Instead, I waited. I calmed down. And when I did respond, it came from clarity, not chaos. That's the power of one breath. It sounds simple. And it is. But simple doesn't mean shallow. Simple things, when practiced consistently, become the foundation of deep transformation. You see, when you train yourself to take that one breath, you're not just learning how to pause. You're training your nervous system to stay calm under pressure. You're building the muscle of self-awareness. You're choosing response over reaction. Think about how different your life could be if you just paused. Before yelling, before sending the email, before making the decision, before jumping to conclusions. What if that pause became your new instinct? Imagine the arguments that wouldn't happen, the regret you wouldn't feel, the self-respect you would build. One breath is all it takes to go from chaos to clarity. Now maybe you're thinking, but how can one breath really make that much of a difference? Let me answer that with a question. How many times have you made a decision you later regretted just because you didn't take a moment to pause? One breath might not solve your problems, but it can stop you from making them worse. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Your breath is a bridge. It connects your body to your mind. It brings you out of the past and future and back into the only moment that matters, this one. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to change your clothes. You don't have to be in control of the situation. You just breathe. Deep in, hold, and out. It's your reset button. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, triggered, anxious, angry, or even excited, pause. Let breath come before words. Let stillness come before movement. Let presence come before pressure. You'll be amazed at how different life feels when you don't just rush through it but breathe through it. Let me leave you with this. In every moment, you have two choices. React from habit or respond from awareness. And that awareness, it begins with one breath. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. So try it, right here, right now. Inhale, hold, exhale. Welcome back to the present moment. You're safe here. You're powerful here. You're alive here. And everything you need begins with one breath. 3. Don't wait for the storm to start swimming. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you truly sat in silence and it out of boredom, not by accident but on purpose? No phone, no TV, no to-do list, just you and stillness. Feels rare, doesn't it? And yet, that stillness, that silence, that peaceful moment is the training ground for your calm. You see, most people only think about staying calm when life is chaotic, when the car breaks down, when the bills pile up, when someone says something hurtful, when the pressure is high and the clock is ticking. But here's the truth. You don't learn to swim in the middle of a storm. You learn when the water is calm. So why do we wait until everything falls apart to ask ourselves, How do I stay centered? How do I stay grounded? How do I stay calm? If we really want to build inner peace, we have to train it before we need it. That's the practice. That's the secret. Let me tell you what changed everything for me. There was a time when I constantly felt like I was one crisis away from falling apart. It wasn't that life was harder than usual, it was that I had no emotional foundation. I had no inner strength to fall back on. So when stress hit, I collapsed. When someone triggered me, I snapped. When things didn't go as planned, I panicked. It was like trying to stand tall in an earthquake with no roots. But then one day, someone said something to me that hit me like a lightning bolt. They said, "You don't train for the storm in the middle of it. You train on the calmest days so that when the winds pick up, you're ready." That changed how I saw everything. So I started small. A few minutes of silence in the morning. Writing down 3 things I was grateful for. Watching my breath, just for 60 seconds, while waiting in line. Leaving my phone in the other room and just being with myself. At first, it felt silly. Like, how is sitting quietly going to help me deal with real-life stress? But over time, I noticed something. The more I practiced calm when I didn't need it, the more I had access to it when I did. Instead of reacting, I responded. Instead of spiraling, I centered. Instead of running from discomfort, I stayed present with it. It was like I had a reserve tank of peace and I'd been filling it drop by drop in those quiet moments. Let me ask you this. What's your routine for peace? What do you do when things are good to make sure you're strong when they're not? Because if we only train peace when life is chaotic, we're already behind. Think of it like going to the gym. You don't wait until your back is injured to strengthen your core. You don't wait until you're sick to start eating healthy. You do the reps before the crisis hits. Same thing with emotional strength. Every time you journal, every time you meditate, every time you pause to reflect instead of react, you're building your internal muscle. And when the storm does come, it will come. You don't collapse. You breathe deeper. You speak softer. You move slower. You respond wiser. Not because you're better than others, but because you've trained for this. You've sat with your breath when nothing was urgent. You've learned to observe your thoughts without judgment. You've practiced patience when no one was testing it. So when the test does arrive, you're ready. Let's be real for a second. Life is unpredictable. You might get an unexpected phone call tomorrow that changes everything. You might lose something, or someone, or get thrown into a situation you didn't ask for. And in that moment, your nervous system is going to ask, "What do I do now?" And your answer will depend on the habits you've built. So let's make a choice right here, right now. Let's stop waiting for the crisis to begin healing. Let's stop waiting for the conflict to begin centering. Let's stop waiting for the fire to start looking for water. Let's train calm now while we can. While the world is quiet. While things feel manageable. Because those moments, they're not boring. They're sacred. They're your opportunity to prepare for everything life might throw your way. Let me leave you with this thought. Calm is not something you stumble into, it's something you rehearse. So tomorrow morning, before the chaos of the day begins, just try this. Sit down. Breathe in slowly. Hold it. Breathe out slowly. Do nothing else for 1 minute. Just feel your breath. Let that be your first rep. Because every rep counts. And before you know it, you won't just be hoping for peace. You'll be living from it. 4. A single question that could save you from chaos. Let me give you a question that has quietly changed my life. It's not flashy. It's not long. But it holds the kind of power that can shift the entire direction of your day, even your future. Ready? Here it is. Is this worth my peace? Simple, right? But don't underestimate it. Because that one question, it saved me from arguments. It saved me from sleepless nights. It saved me from going down mental rabbit holes I had no business being in. Let me set the scene. You're on your way to work, coffee in hand, feeling pretty good. And then someone cuts you off in traffic. No turn signal. No apology. Just arrogance on wheels. What's your instinct? Yell. Honk. Let them ruin your mood for the next hour. Or, could you pause and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Or let's say you get a text. A passive-aggressive comment from someone you love or maybe someone you don't. You can feel the anger rising. Your thumbs are already typing a response you know will only escalate things. But then you pause, you breathe, and you ask, is this conversation really worth handing over my inner calm? And almost always, the answer is no. Now don't get me wrong. This isn't about avoiding problems. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about one thing: protecting your peace like it's sacred because it is. Let me ask you this. How many times have you spent hours, days, even obsessing over something that didn't matter in the long run? The comment, the look, the slight, the mistake, the traffic, the reply that never came. We give so much of our energy to things that don't give anything back. And why? Because we don't stop to ask the question, is this worth it? Is this truly worth disturbing my peace for? You see, every time you let something small pull you into a storm, you're not just reacting. You're giving away your power. You're saying, here, take my peace. It's yours now. I'll just be over here anxious, angry, unsettled. But what if you stopped doing that? What if you started treating your peace like the most precious thing you own? Because here's the truth. Your peace is not weak. Your calm is not passive. It's power under control. It's awareness. It's maturity. It's strength. It's walking away from the argument not because you're afraid to fight but because you know it's not worth the price. It's choosing stillness in your mind even when the world wants chaos in your heart. And that starts with the pause. That starts with the question. Let me tell you a story. A while ago, I was in a heated conversation with someone close to me. You know those moments where emotions are high, voices are rising, and everything inside you wants to win. I was right. I knew I was right. And part of me just wanted to prove it. Say what needed to be said. Get the last word in. But then, mid-sentence, something in me whispered, is this worth it? Not, are you right? Not, can you win this? Just, is this worth your peace? I paused, breathed, and I chose silence. And guess what? That moment of restraint didn't weaken me. It protected me. It reminded me that peace isn't found in proving someone wrong. It's found in choosing yourself even when your ego's screaming for battle. That's what this question does. It pulls you out of impulse and into intention. It gives you a moment to choose instead of react. To be proactive with your energy. To be deliberate with your attention. Because not everything deserves a response. Not everything deserves your time. Not every invitation to chaos requires an RSVP. So here's what I want you to try today. Every time something triggers you, a person, a message, a memory, a moment, before you act, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Is this aligned with the person I want to become? Will this matter tomorrow, or next week, or next year? And if the answer is no, let it go. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply about your growth, your energy, your emotional clarity. And that kind of self-respect, that's a game changer. Let me leave you with this. There will always be noise. There will always be chaos. There will always be something trying to pull you out of alignment. But peace is a choice. Peace is a skill. Peace is a daily commitment. And it starts with one question. Is this worth my peace? Ask it, live it, and watch how your life begins to shift. 5. You are not your thoughts. Here's what you really are. Let me share something that changed my entire relationship with stress, anxiety, and emotional overload. It's a shift so subtle, most people miss it. But once you truly understand it, it's like a light switch flips inside you. Here it is. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who observes them. Sounds simple, right? But how often do we forget this? How often do we become the anger, the anxiety, the frustration, the sadness? One little thing goes wrong, and suddenly, our whole identity is wrapped in the storm. We say things like, I'm so stressed. I'm so mad. I'm anxious. I'm just not okay. But what if we stopped being the emotion and started observing it? What if you could take a step back, even in the middle of the chaos, and say, oh, that's anger. I see it. That's fear. It's rising. That's a judgmental thought. It's passing through. You don't resist it. You don't shame it. You just witness it, like clouds drifting across the sky. They appear, they move, and they go. You You're the sky. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been caught in an emotion so deeply that you acted in a way that didn't even feel like you? Maybe you snapped at someone you love. Maybe you spiraled into worrying over something that never even happened. Maybe you shut down because one thought turned into 10, then 100, then a full-blown breakdown. Now imagine this. What if, in that moment, you paused, you breathed, and instead of reacting, you said to yourself, "This isn't me. This is just a temporary wave." Because that's all it is. Emotion is energy in motion. It comes, it moves, it leaves. And when you learn to observe instead of identify, you step into a completely different kind of power. This is called the observer mindset. And once you build it, you can walk through fire and not get burned. Not because the fire isn't hot, but because you know you're not the flame. Here's the truth no one teaches us growing up. You can feel anger without being angry. You can notice fear without becoming fear. You can experience anxiety without letting it define who you are. Because who you are is the space beneath it all. Still, aware, steady, quiet. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a time when I felt emotionally hijacked by the smallest things. A missed message, a weird tone in someone's voice, a negative comment. Suddenly, I was spiraling. And then one day, during meditation, I heard this phrase, "You are the awareness, not the storm." That hit me like a lightning bolt, because I realized I had spent years living in automatic reaction, letting my thoughts run wild, letting emotions take the driver's seat. But when I started practicing awareness, everything changed. Next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Pause. Take one conscious breath. Ask yourself, what's happening inside me right now? What am I feeling, and where do I feel it in my body? Can I witness this without judging it? That's where the shift begins. You become the observer. You stop being swept away by the river and start sitting by the riverbank, watching the water flow. And the best part? You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to fight the thought. You just need to see it clearly. Because awareness is the healing. Here's a visual I love. Imagine your thoughts and emotions are like passengers on a train. They come in, they sit down, they talk loud, they sometimes annoy you. But you're the platform. You're not on the train. You're just watching it pass. And the more you practice this, the more peaceful you become, not because life stops being chaotic, but because you stop internalizing the chaos. Let me give you one more example. You ever had a thought that says, "I'm not good enough"? Most of us have. And if you believe that thought without questioning it, it becomes your reality. You move through your day trying to prove your worth or hide your shame. But if you take a breath, pause, and say, that's a familiar thought. That's not me. That's just old programming. I see you. You're here. But I don't have to follow you. That's liberation. That's when your peace stops depending on what's happening around you and starts depending on the clarity within you. So what does it mean to live as the observer? It means you show up to your life fully awake. You no longer live in reaction, you live in intention. You don't suppress your emotions, you witness them. You don't avoid hard thoughts, you sit with them without letting them own you. And over time, the thoughts still come. The emotions still rise. But they no longer control you. Because you've built a safe space within yourself. A home inside your awareness. Let me leave you with this. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your stress. You are not even your thoughts. You are the one who sees. You are the one who breathes. You are the one who chooses. And every time you choose observation over reaction, you return home to your peace. That's the real power. And it's already inside you, just waiting to be remembered. 6. Tiny habits that keep you from drifting away. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a day that felt like it swept you away before you even had a chance to take a breath? You woke up already running late. Messages waiting. Notifications buzzing. Meetings piling up. Before you knew it, you were reacting, not living. And at the end of the day, you looked back and thought, where did my peace go? When did I lose myself in the noise? If you've ever felt that, you're not alone. We live in a world that constantly pulls us outward, out of presence, out of balance, out of ourselves. But what if you had a way to come back to center no matter how fast life moves? Not with a grand routine. Not with hours of meditation or silence in the mountains. Just with something small, simple, intentional. I call them anchor rituals. And no, I'm not talking about morning routines that involve 27 steps, cold plunges, and kale smoothies unless that's your thing. I'm talking about tiny, meaningful moments throughout your day that pull you back to yourself. Like a cup of tea in the morning. In silence. No screen. Just steam, breath, and stillness. Like pausing to take 3 deep breaths before a meeting. Not to calm down, but to reconnect. Like lighting a candle while you journal at night. Not for productivity, yet for presence. These small acts, they're not random. They're your anchors. They keep you from drifting. Because whether you realize it or not, the world is always trying to sweep you out to into stress, distraction, pressure, comparison. And if you don't have something to hold on to, something that tethers you to your inner world, you'll get lost in theirs. Let me give you a personal example. There was a time in my life when I started every morning by checking my phone. Emails, social media, news, notifications. And before I even got out of bed, my nervous system was already fried. I was responding to the world before I had even responded to myself. But then, I made one simple change. I started making a cup of tea before I touched my phone. Every single morning. No multitasking. No rushing. Just boil water. Pour. Breathe. It became my anchor. Some days it was 5 minutes. Some days 10. But those quiet moments reminded me, this is who I am. Before the chaos. Before the calendar. Before the noise. And the ripple effect? I started the day with calm, not chaos. With presence, not panic. With men at the world. That's what an anchor ritual does. It's not just a habit, it's a homecoming. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, the more personal and simple it is, the more powerful it becomes. So let me ask you this. What moments in your day could become sacred if you let them? Could washing the dishes become a mindful practice? Could your walk to the mailbox be a brief work session? Could your lunch break become a screen-free pause with your own thoughts? Because here's the truth. You don't need more time to feel grounded. You just need more intention in the time you already have. Think about it like this. An anchor on a boat isn't always visible. But without it, the boat drifts even when the water looks still. Same with us. On the surface, things may look calm. But underneath, our minds are racing. We need those anchors. We need those built-in pauses, those breath-sized rituals that bring us back to who we are. And not just once a week, but every day. Throughout the day. Morning, midday, evening. Tiny rituals. Steady reminders. Because peace isn't something you find at the end of a long journey. It's something you create in the middle of your everyday life. So what could your anchors be? Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for each night. Maybe it's a walk after dinner without your phone. Maybe it's 5 minutes of stillness while your coffee brews. Whatever it is, make it yours. Make it sacred. Make it non-negotiable. Because here's what I've learned. A life without anchors is a life lived in reaction. A life with anchors is a life lived in reflection. And reflection is where your power lives. Your calm. Your clarity. Your self-respect. So I want to leave you with a challenge. Before tomorrow begins, choose one anchor. Just one. Something small. Something quiet. Something just for you. Do it for 3 days. Then ask yourself, how do I feel when I start from within instead of being pulled from the outside? You might be surprised by how steady you feel. Because you don't need a new life to feel peace. You just need small, steady anchors to remember the life you already have. 7. One simple shift that can set you free. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a moment? Heart heavy, mind racing, and all you could think was, why is this happening to me? Why now? Why me? It's a question that comes naturally when life hits hard. When something breaks. When someone leaves. When plans fall apart. When nothing makes sense. And in that moment, it feels like you're standing in the ruins of your expectations. Confused. Frustrated. Alone. I've been there. And I've asked the same question. But here's what I've learned: why me is the question that keeps you stuck. It ties you to the past. It pulls you deeper into self-pity. It makes you feel like a victim to your own life. And worst of all, it rarely gives you answers. Even if someone could explain the why, would it truly help you move forward? So what if we stopped asking why me? And started asking something better, something more powerful? What now? Because that question, that one shift, it changes everything. It moves you from paralysis to possibility, from resistance to resilience, from questioning your pain to owning your path. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I lost a big opportunity I had worked hard for. I gave it my all, showed up early, stayed late, put my heart into it, and then gone. Without warning, without a second chance. I remember sitting alone, asking, why me? What did I do wrong? Why is this happening to me? And you know what? The more I asked, the more stuck I felt. I kept replaying the moment, blaming myself, blaming others, wishing I could rewind time. But then, one morning, after another sleepless night, I paused. And a new question emerged, quiet but clear. Okay, this happened. Now what? And just like that, something shifted. The situation hadn't changed. The disappointment was still real. But my direction had changed. I stopped looking backward and started looking forward. And I realized calm doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from knowing you can move through it. Because let's be honest, life isn't always fair. Sometimes it will be hard. Sometimes you won't get what you deserve. Sometimes things won't make sense. But you still get to choose your response. You still get to choose what you do next. So let me ask you, what if you stopped trying to figure out the reason for the storm, and instead focused on how to walk through it with grace? What if your question wasn't, why did this happen? But, what can I learn from this? Who can I become because of this? What small step can I take right now? Because healing begins the moment you shift from blame to building. From trying to undo the past, to asking how you'll rise from it. Think about this. If every setback carried within it the seed of your next breakthrough, wouldn't what now be the better question? Let's take it even deeper. Why me is rooted in identity. It says, this must be about me. Something is wrong with me. But what now is rooted in action. It says, something happened to me. But now I decide what comes next. That's where your power lives. Not in controlling the situation, not in getting all the answers, but in how you rise, one breath at a time, one step at a time, one decision at a time. Here's the truth. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to feel strong every second. You just need to ask the right question. And the right question is never, why me? It's what now? Now that I've fallen, how will I stand again? Now that I've been hurt, how will I heal? Now that it's gone, what am I being asked to create next? Because the future doesn't begin when life gets easier. It begins the moment you shift from why to what. Let me leave you with this. Life will test you. It will stretch you. It will bring moments that shake your foundation. But those moments, they're not the end of your story. They're the beginning of your transformation. And it starts with a single question. What now? Ask it. Mean it. Act on it. Because you were never meant to stay stuck in the why. You were meant to rise in the what. 8. The one decision that changes how you face everything. Let me ask you a powerful question. What if the most important moment of your day is the moment between what happens to you and what you choose to do next? Think about it. Every situation, every interaction, every challenge you face comes down to this one fork in the road. Will you react or will you respond? Most of us live on autopilot. We're cut off in traffic. We snap. Someone disrespects us. We lash out. An unexpected problem hits. We panic. It happens so fast, we don't even notice it. But here's the thing. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Reaction comes from emotion. Response comes from awareness. Reaction is survival. Response is mastery. And the difference between the two? That tiny, sacred space between stimulus and choice. Psychologist Viktor Frankl once said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That quote changed the way I live, because I realized I'd been giving away my power. Every time I reacted without thinking. Every time I let my emotions drive the wheel. Every time I let someone else's behavior dictate my state of mind. But here's the truth. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control what happens next. Let me give you a real example. A while ago, I received an email that triggered me. It felt disrespectful, passive-aggressive, unfair. Immediately, my body tensed up. My fingers were ready to type. The sarcastic reply was forming in my head. But then I paused. I closed the laptop, took a breath, and I asked myself, do I want to react or do I want to respond? Do I want to win this email war or protect my peace? Do I want to feed the fire or lead with clarity? That pause, just 5 seconds, was all it took to shift everything. And when I did write back, it was from a place of calm. Clear, assertive, professional, but not emotional. And guess what? The situation resolved with respect, not more conflict. That's the power of response. So let me ask you, how many moments in your life could be different if you had just paused? How many arguments, regrets, or emotional spirals could you have avoided? We don't think we have a choice, but we always do. And it starts with awareness. Let me break it down. When you react, your nervous system takes over. Your body floods with adrenaline. Your brain moves into fight or flight. You're not thinking, you're surviving. But when you respond, you interrupt that cycle. You breathe. You create space. You choose. And here's where it gets interesting. That choice doesn't just change the moment, it changes you. Every time you respond instead of react, you rewire your brain. You build emotional strength. You gain trust in yourself. You become someone who can handle pressure without becoming it. And that is real growth. That's how peace becomes who you are, not just something you chase. Let me share a quick tool I use. It's a 3-step process I call the inner pause. Step 1. Notice the trigger. The moment you feel that tight chest, clenched jaw, or rising heat intact. Just notice it. Awareness is the first step to freedom. Step 2. Name the emotion. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Anger, embarrassment, fear, insecurity. Labeling the emotion puts you back in control. Step 3. Ask this question. What would my highest self do right now? Not your ego, not your wounded self, but the version of you you're trying to become. That question creates space. And in that space you find power. Now, responding doesn't always mean staying quiet. It doesn't mean being passive. Sometimes, response is speaking up firmly, clearly, and with strength. But it's never about losing control. It's about choosing alignment. Here's the truth. Your reaction is someone else's power over you. Your response is your power over yourself. So the next time you feel triggered, remember, you have a choice. To explode or exhale. To fire back or fall still. To feed chaos or plant calm. The gap between the two, that's your growth edge. And the more you choose response, the stronger that muscle becomes. Let me leave you with this. Life is going to test you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall through. Things will go wrong. But in all of it, you will always have one sacred power. The power to pause, to breathe, and to respond not from fear, but from wisdom. That's who you are becoming. And it all begins right now. 9. What if the silence you fear is the peace you need? Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you sat in silence? Not because your phone died. Not because you were stuck in traffic. But because you chose to. Think about it. We wake up and immediately reach for a screen. Before we even take our first breath of the day, we're already scrolling. Emails, news, notifications, content, more content. Then we wonder, why do I feel so disconnected from myself? Why is my mind so loud, but my heart so quiet? Why am I so exhausted and I haven't even gotten out of bed? Here's the truth. Your mind is shaped by what you consume. And most of us are feeding it non-stop noise. From the moment we open our eyes to the second we fall asleep, we are bombarded with voices that aren't ours. Opinions, comparisons, expectations, distractions. It's like we've handed over our mental space to the entire world and left no room for our own voice to be heard. But what if I told you? The clarity you're searching for, the answers you're craving, the peace you keep chasing, might not be found in more input, but in less. What if the silence you've been avoiding is actually the thing you need most? Let that sink in. Let me share something that changed my life. I used to think that if I wasn't constantly plugged in, I'd fall behind. Like the world would move on without me. So I stayed connected, refreshed the feed, listened to every podcast, watched every update, checked my phone like it was a lifeline. But in all that connection, I lost my connection to myself. And when I finally decided to disconnect, just for a day, I didn't feel empty. I felt home. I started hearing my own thoughts again, not the recycled voices of the internet, not the opinions I picked up from the latest post. My own truth, my own rhythm, my own wisdom. And it was there waiting in the quiet the whole time. So here's the shift I want to invite you into. Don't just check your phone. Start checking in with yourself. Not once a month, not just on vacation, but every day. Even for 5 minutes. Create space between you and the noise. Here's how. 1. Start your day with yourself, not your screen. Before you touch your phone, touch your breath. Touch your thoughts. Ask yourself, how am I really doing right now? 2. Schedule silent time. Yes, schedule it. A walk without earbuds. 10 minutes of journaling. Sitting on your porch doing absolutely nothing. You'd be surprised what comes up when you stop drowning it out. 3. Curate your inputs. Not everything deserves your attention. Mute what doesn't serve your peace. Unfollow what steals your energy. You have the right to be selective with what you let into your mental space. Because here's the truth we forget. You are not just a receiver of content. You are a creator of consciousness. And you can't create if you're constantly consuming. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt deeply connected to your inner voice? Not the voice of anxiety. Not the voice of pressure. But the calm, clear one underneath. Because that voice, it's not gone. It's just buried under layers of noise. And the only way to hear it again is to get quiet enough to listen. I get it, silence can feel uncomfortable. Because in the silence, everything we've been avoiding comes to the surface. The doubts, the grief, the truth. But you know what else rises in silence? Clarity, compassion, creative fire, direction, self-trust. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, don't scroll, don't escape, don't distract. Pause, breathe, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What's really going on inside me? What do I need not from the world, but from myself? Because answers don't always come from outside. Often, they're already within you, you've just been too busy to hear them. Let me leave you with this. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of wisdom. And maybe, just maybe, the peace you're seeking won't be found in more noise, but in less. Unplug to reconnect. Turn down the volume of the world, so you can turn up the volume of you. 10. The way you talk to yourself shapes everything. Let me ask you a deeply personal question. If your inner voice, the way you talk to yourself in the quiet moments, was projected out loud for the world to hear, would it sound like someone who loves you, or someone who's disappointed in you? Would it sound like encouragement, or criticism? Would it sound like compassion, or pressure? Here's the truth most of us don't say out loud. We talk to ourselves in ways we'd never talk to someone we love. We say things like, "You're such a failure. You always mess this up. What's wrong with you? You're not good enough. You never were." But imagine this. What if your best friend came to you, heartbroken and overwhelmed, and said, "I made a mistake. I feel lost. I'm struggling." Would you roll your eyes and say, "Wow, you're pathetic"? Of course not. You'd sit beside them. You'd hold space. You'd remind them of their worth, even when they forget it. So here's the question. Why don't we do the same for ourselves? Why are we so quick to beat ourselves down, but so slow to lift ourselves up? Here's what I've learned. You cannot build inner calm in a mind that's constantly at war with itself. Self-judgment isn't discipline. Self-shame isn't motivation. And beating yourself up is not a shortcut to self-growth. Real growth, real transformations with compassion. And I'm not talking about indulgence or excuses. I'm talking about honest, fierce, loving truth. The kind of love that says, yes, you messed up. Yes, you're hurting. But no, you are not broken. You are learning. And I'm still with you. That's how you build resilience. That's how you stay calm in the storm, not by pretending to be perfect, but by refusing to abandon yourself when you're not. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I thought the only way to get better was to be harder on myself. I thought discipline meant pushing through pain. I thought silence meant strength. I thought self-love was weak. But all it really did was exhaust me. I was achieving, but I wasn't at peace. I was moving forward, but with a weight on my shoulders that never seemed to lift. Until one day, in a quiet moment of reflection, I asked myself, what if I talked to myself like someone I truly loved? Not with pity, but with respect, with kindness, with gentleness. And that shift, just that single question, was enough to begin rewriting the script in my mind. Now, when I fall short, I don't attack myself. I ask, what would I say to someone I care about who's in this exact situation? And Thini say it to me. So let me ask you right now, what would change if the voice inside your head became your biggest supporter, not your harshest critic? What would happen to your anxiety if your inner voice said, it's okay to feel this, you're safe now? What would happen to your shame if your inner voice said, that mistake doesn't define you, you're still growing? What would happen to your stress if your inner voice said, you're doing your best? And that's enough today. Because here's the thing. The words you say to yourself become the house you live in. So if you're living in self-blame, self-doubt, and self-punishment, it's time to renovate. It's time to build a home inside your mind that feels like safety. Because peace doesn't just come from external calm. It comes from inner kindness. Let's make this practical. 1. Catch the critic. Start noticing the harsh, automatic thoughts. When you hear, you're not enough, stop and say, hold on, would I say that to someone I love? 2. Name the voice. Give your inner critic a name if you want. Separate it from you. That voice is a pattern, it's not your truth. 3. Rewire with compassion. Replace criticism with curiosity. Instead of why did I do that, try, what made me feel unsafe or afraid in that moment? Be gentle but honest. 4. Practice loving self-talk out loud. It may feel weird, but say it. I love you. I forgive you. You're allowed to be human. Because the way you speak shapes the way you feel. Let me leave you with this. You will fall. You will mess up. You will feel lost, scared, angry, or ashamed. But you don't have to fight yourself every time. Instead, you can stand beside yourself. Hold space for yourself. Speak gently, even when life isn't. Because the relationship you have with you, that's the foundation for every other relationship in your life. You deserve to be spoken to with love. And that love starts within. So tonight, before you go to sleep, look in the mirror and ask, if I were someone I deeply loved, what would I say to myself right now? Then say it out loud, with feeling, with truth, because you are listening. So here's the truth I carry with me every single day. You don't find calm. You build it. For years, I believed peace was something I'd finally feel when life got easier, when the stress lessened, when people behaved the way I hoped, when everything around me felt more manageable. But now I know better. Calm isn't something life gives you. It's something you give yourself. It's not a reward at the end of the race. It's the strength you choose to walk with right here, in the middle of it all. And it doesn't start with big, dramatic change. It begins with something small. Something you can do right now. Just one breath. That's it. One breath to anchor yourself in the moment. One breath to pause instead of react. One breath to remember that your peace is too precious to hand over to chaos. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed the most powerful people in the world aren't the ones yelling? They're not the loudest in the room. They don't dominate with noise. They lead with presence. They speak softly, even in storms. They sit in fire and don't get burned. Because real power isn't found in force. It's found in stillness. And the same is true for you. Your calm isn't weakness. It's strength. Your stillness isn't passivity. It's clarity. Today, I want to invite you to stop waiting for life to calm down. To stop hoping the world will quiet so you can finally rest. Because peace isn't out there, waiting for the perfect moment. It's inside you. And it's waiting for you to claim it. So choose it. Create it. Live from it. And no, this doesn't mean life will suddenly become easy. The storms will still come. The unexpected will still arrive. You will still be tested. But when calm becomes your default, not your destination, you meet life differently. You respond with grace. You pause with wisdom. You move from alignment, not anxiety. That's the life you deserve. Not a life free of pressure, but a life where pressure doesn't define you. Not a life without noise, but a life where your inner silence is louder. So I'll leave you with one powerful question. What would your life look like if calm wasn't something you chased, but something you became? What would shift in your relationships? In your work? In the way you treat yourself? How would your mornings feel? Your evenings? Your decisions? Because that version of you, it's not far away. It's not in the future. It's one breath away. And if this video spoke to you, if it reminded you of your own strength, your own presence, your own power, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs calm today. Someone carrying too much. Someone feeling too lost. Someone who forgot that peace is still possible. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. We're walking it together, growing together, breathing together, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay rooted, stay present, stay powerful. Napoleon Hill Secrets.